What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So, national championship was last night for the men. But first, let's talk about the women's national championship. That was the other day. South Carolina defeats Iowa, and they win the national championship. They go undefeated. So, Caitlin Clark's unfortunately ends her college basketball career without a national championship. And South Carolina really flew under the radar. They were dominant all year. They've been a premier program in women's college basketball for a very long time. It's always been them, and UConn obviously, and Notre Dame at one point, it's kind of slowed down recent year, but they've always been there. Stanford's kind of always been there. But they've been a premier program, South Carolina, for a long time. Dalton Staley's one of the greatest coaches of all time, and they didn't really get a lot of attention because a lot of attention went to Iowa because of Caitlin Clark, because she was having an historic year, and to LSU because not only are they a great team, the defending champs, because they have a lot of larger than life figures with the coach Kim Mulkey and Angel Reese and and they got all that. So they kind of flew under the radar stuff, and it almost helped them. They were like, all right, no one's gonna talk about it. That's fine. They kind of just snuck under the radar. And they didn't lose a single game here. So phenomenal year for the Gamecocks. They are your national champions. Dawn still had a nice little tribute to Caitlin Clark after the game, saying she appreciated what she did for the game. She said she's gonna lift up WNBA. She said she's one of the greatest of all time. But South Carolina is your national champion. On the men's side, national championship was last night, and the UConn Huskies defeat Purdue. They win by 15 points. I think it was 75-60. They win their second straight national championship. What a run UConn is on. Back-to-back national champion, which in this transfer portal and NIL era of college sports is almost unheard of. Incredible run. They won by at least 13 points in every game in the tournament over the last 2 years. They dominated this year. Last year they were kind of a little bit more under the radar because they were a 6 seed. But this year absolutely dominated. Only lost like 4 games all year. Won by at least 13 in every game in the tournament this year. Absolute domination. I'm probably going to do an episode highlight them probably on Thursday. Incredible run. Dan Hurley is an incredible coach. Now on 2 straight national champions. They're not 2 straight national championship. He said in 2010 when he took the job, you better get us now because we're coming. And he was right. They are now the back-to-back national champion. Donovan Klingman had a really good year. The point guard Tristan Newton was one of the Bob Cousy were for the best point guard in the country. They just do everything right. They can score at all 3 levels. They're incredible offensively. They can score at all 3 levels. They're incredible rebounding team. They're incredible defensively. They can they have a good pace of play. They do everything right. They're well coached by Dan Hurley. They're a great program. I think they're like tied for like 3rd national championship by college basketball team, something like that. This incredible program. They are absolutely a blue blood, one of the premier programs in the world when it comes to college basketball. They are phenomenal, and they are your national champions. So shout out to them. On to the NBA. Let's take a look at the standings. Season is winding down. We only have like 4 or 5 games left for most of these teams. So in the East, of course, Boston Celtics have already locked up the 1 seed in the East. The 2 seed right now is the Milwaukee Bucks. They have officially clinched the playoff spot. The first spot, the Orlando Magic, are 3rd in the Eastern Conference at 46-32. That's crazy. They have had a bit of a breakout year. Last year didn't even make the play-in. This year, I thought they'd be better. I did. They have, they're a really good young team. With good side, a good young coach in Jamal Mosley. So I thought they'd be at least a playing team, but not only they'd be possibly 3rd in the East. Wow. They're actually tied with the Knicks, who are also 46-32. I think the Knicks have dealt with a lot of injuries this year. Julius Randle's out for the year. OG Anunoby has been in that lineup since they got him in the trade, and a lot of other guys have been in that lineup, which is, at one point when they got OG, I thought this team was possibly going to the finals. Looked like possibly the 2nd best team in the East, but injuries kind of killed them. But they're only in game out of 2nd place right now, and they're tied for 3rd. Cleveland's in 5th. They're a half game out of 3rd, game and a half out of 2nd. They're struggling a bit. They feel another team that's really good. I think if when healthy is a potential finals dark horse, but has had a lot of injuries this year. And 6th was Indiana, who was a game out of 5th, and they're a game and a half out of 3rd. They are in 6th right now. The first playing team is Philadelphia. They right now are a game out of 6th and 2 games out of 5th. Second playing team is Miami. They're a half game behind Philly. Those two teams are probably going to meet each other in the play-in. Unless one of them sneaks out. They're, for who's going to be home, Philly's a half game ahead of Miami right now. Miami's a game and a half out of 6th. And then the Bulls and Atlanta are locked into those 9 and 10 spots. They're going to be playing each other in the playing round. Winner of that will play the loser of Philly and Miami. The loser of Chicago and Atlanta will be eliminated. In the Western, kind of looking at their playoff picture, Minnesota right now is tied with Denver at 54 and 25 for the first 2 seeds in the West. Both teams have officially clinched the playoffs. Oklahoma City Thunder is a game out of first right now. They're technically in 3rd. They've also clinched a playoff spot. Clippers are in 4th. They're 3 games out of 3rd. The 5th spot right now is Dallas, who's been playing very well. They are 2 games out of 4th. That's what they're probably going to put the Clippers in the first round. The 6th spot right now is Phoenix, who is 2 games out of 5th. The play right now, the first playing team is New Orleans. Second playing team is Sacramento, who is right now, actually technically Phoenix and New Orleans are tied for 6th and 7th. So Sacramento is they're a game out of, they're 2 games out of 5th right now. They're a game out of 6th, 2 games out of 5th. Second playing team, the third playing team is the Lakers. We're actually only a half game out of 8th and a game and a half out of 6th. They've been playing very well. And last playing team is Golden State. They are game and a half out of 9th. So it's a good chance they'll play Sacramento or the Lakers in that first playing game. But it's really tough right now. There's still a lot up for grabs, even though most teams only have like 4 or 5 games left, and most part 4 games left. Looking at the playoff picture right now, if this thing were to end today, which it does not, obviously, we still have a lot to be decided, even though each team only has 4 or 5 games left. The Orlando would host Indiana, and the Knicks would host Cleveland. I mentioned the first round last year, when the Knicks won 5 games. The play-in round, we have Philly and Miami, and Chicago and Atlanta. The winner of Philly and Miami right now would play Milwaukee in the first round. And then the winner of Chicago and Atlanta would play the loser of Philly and Miami. The loser of Chicago and Atlanta is out. And then the winner of Chicago and Atlanta and the loser of Philly and Miami faces off. The winner of that would face Boston in the first round. Going to the Western Conference. Right now, Oklahoma City would host Phoenix, which I think would be a great series, by the way. And the Clippers would host Dallas. In the play-in, New Orleans would play Sacramento. The winner of that would play Denver in the first round. And then the Lakers would host Golden State. The loser of that is out. The winner of that would play the loser of New Orleans and Sacramento. And the winner of that would play Minnesota in the first round. So, this should be I think this could be a really fun playoff. We could see some upsets. Could see some craziness. Very excited. That's what we're looking at right now in the NBA. By the way, speaking of NBA, Charlotte Hornets, they're interviewing the Kings G League coach, Lindsey Harding, who I think was the coach of the year in the G League, for their head coach opening. Of course, Steve Clifford's going to step down after the season and move into a front office role. So, PF are already starting their search for a next head coach. And Lindsey Harding appears to get the first crack at it. NBA Hall of Fame class of 2024 was announced. It's headlined by Vince Carter and Shelby Billups. Vince Carter definitely deserves a game. Great player. Played for 22 years. Won dunk contest winner. One maybe the greatest dunker ever. Great player. Played for a lot of teams. Obviously, he's remembered most for what he did in Toronto. Was in Dallas for a while as well. Was with the Nets when they were still in New Jersey. Of course, at the end played in Atlanta. So he was all over the block. Shelby Billups, of course, he was on a big part of that 2004 Pistons championship team. He was on the Knicks briefly a little bit. Very good player, and they called him Mr. Big Shot. Michael Cooper just got in, one of the greatest defenders in NBA history, a big part of those Showtime Lakers teams, really good player. Was kind of like their sixth man, but, was always in there for 30 minutes a game. One of the greatest defenders of all time. He just got in. Also getting in was Walter Davis, Bo Ryan, and Charles Smith. On the women's side, Simone Augustus got in. Dick Barnett got in from the veteran committee. He was on those Knicks teams, like their 60s and 70s with Clyde Frazier and Dave DeBusschere. He was a great player. And then for the contributors, it was Doug Collins, Herb Sumner, and Jerry West is getting in for the third time. That's crazy. I also got in as a player. I think he got in as a coach. And then he's getting in as a contributor. And he is one of the greatest best lines of all time. That's the Hall of Fame class. Bronny James is entering the draft. Well, he's entering the draft, but he is also entering the transfer portal so he can maintain NCAA eligibility. Bronny should not go to the NBA draft. I'm sorry, he's not that good. He averaged 4 points a game at USC. USC was in 11th place in the Pac-12. So in a conference that's not the best basketball conference, they're probably like maybe the 4th best basketball conference. And USC was one of the worst teams in that conference, and Bronny barely played. He came off the bench and averaged 4 points a game. He is not ready for the NBA. And look, on top of his name and how bad this NBA draft class is, he might go first overall because the team might get LeBron. LeBron might have to have his contract and sign wherever Bronny goes. Like if the Pistons get the first pick, if I'm them, like, you know what, screw it. There's not a player that's going to move the needle for us, at least not for a few years. Let's take Bronny and sign LeBron and see if maybe we can make the play-in. Or get like the 6th seed in the East. I don't think they will, but it might be worth a try for them. Apparently he's looking at possibly transferring to Duquesne if he stays in college. I guess, cool. Obviously there's a connection there because, LeBron's high school coach was the coach there for a while, and he just retired, but his assistant who played for him so was LeBron's teammate in high school is now the coach, so LeBron does know the coach of Duquesne. So I guess there's a connection there, but we'll see what happens. So USC hired Eric Musselman as the next head coach. I think that's a good hire. He's done a very good job there at Arkansas. He's a hard-nosed coach. I think that's a good hire. Another thing, Arkansas now is open. Who did they hire? John Calipari. John Calipari is now the coach of Arkansas. After their first-round massive upset loss to Oakland, there was speculation that maybe they might move on from him. Apparently Kentucky and Calipari agreed that for him to come back, but just they would make changes to the program. And all of a sudden, I remember Sunday night at like midnight, WrestleMania had just ended. I'm still getting over, Cody Rhodes finishing the story. I just watched the press conference, and all of a sudden, it drops that, John Conversion talked with Arkansas. I was like, oh, that's not going to happen. They probably called him. He was like, oh yeah, I'll think about it within 24 hours. I'm sure he'll turn it down. And all of a sudden, he's like, oh wait, he's signing off 5 years to be the next coach of Arkansas. That's crazy. Absolutely insane. Calipari's been at Kentucky for as long as I can remember. It's probably pushing 15 years at this point, possibly longer. That's crazy that he is now the coach of Arkansas. But where Kentucky goes, there's a bunch of things that have been thrown around. Dewey Dama's name was probably the biggest thing that's thrown around. He was a successful college coach at Florida. He's been in the NBA for a bit. He was with OKC for a couple of years. He's now with Chicago. Don't think he's a great NBA coach, but I do think he's a good college coach. He might have been an assistant, maybe under Rick Pitino, when Pitino was at Kentucky. Would he leave an NBA job at the Bulls to go to Kentucky? I don't know. That being said, that Bulls team is dead in the water. If they're getting blown up, he might be losing his job in the next year or two anyway, if he doesn't lose it after this season. So, I don't know. But we'll see what happens. Other things have been thrown out. I know Kentucky said they're going to call Dan Hurley. He said after the game, I'm not leaving UConn. So, I don't think that's going to happen. I heard Scott Drew from Baylor. He said he knows the AD at Kentucky. So that's been maybe the top candidate. I'm not sure if he would leave Baylor. They didn't have a great year this year, but overall he's done a good job there. They won the national championship a few years ago. I think it was like 4 years ago they won the national championship. He's a very good coach. That's the end that I've heard. There's speculation that Rick Pitino, because he won the national championship at Kentucky back in 1996. I doubt that would happen. Pitino is almost 70 years old. He might even be 70 years old. He's only been at St. John's for a year. He went on a podcast. It might have actually been the Barstool podcast with Big Cat and the other guy, like saying how he doesn't really like the human aspect of the NIL and the transfer portal and stuff. So I really don't think he's going to be coaching for that much longer. There's a reason a lot of these guys are leaving. You see, just across all college sports. Nick Saban and just retired. You got all these guys are leaving. Calipari's probably in his last run now at Arkansas. He just left Kentucky. Obviously, Coach K retired a couple of years ago. Roy Williams retired a couple of years ago. You're going to see more and more of these guys probably start to leave as time goes on. But, yeah, I don't think he leaves St. John's. He's at the end of his career. You know, he's had an incredible career. Yeah, obviously, he won the national championship at Kentucky. He won one at Louisville. I'm not sure if that technically counts because of all the stuff that's had to happen. But you know, he had a successful stint with the Knicks. Wasn't great in Boston, but that was kind of a weird time. It was right after like Bird and all them had retired. You know, he was at Iona for a couple of years. Overall, did a pretty good job there, considering that's not a high-profile program. Now he's at St. John's. I thought should have gotten into the tournament this year. That didn't quite happen. But yeah, I doubt he would leave. And there's just one of random names that were thrown around. But that's one of those things like who's gonna replace Calipari? If you're does Billy Donovan want to do it? So I'm not, I don't see Patino leaving. Dan Hurley definitely leaving UConn. You have to pay him like $20 million a year. I'm still not sure if he would do it. Kentucky's got one term in the last like 4 years, and UConn's won the national championship 2 years in a row. So it might be like Scott Drew could happen. Baylor didn't have a good year this year. They were depleted by injury. It's kind of that's why they went 16-18 for the most part. So, I don't know, but Kentucky is looking at some pretty big names. So, on to NFL. So, Stephon Diggs is going to be a free agent after the season. Now, the Texans redid his deal. They kind of they voided the last 3 years of his contract, but gave him an extra $3.5 million this year. I think it's smart. He gets disgruntled very easily. Tavondre Sweat was arrested for DWI. I don't get these college prospects in the NFL, or any sport, but in the NFL, specifically right now. So he's probably going to be like a second-round pick. Could be in the end of the first round. Talented defensive tackle. And then you do something stupid that's going to lower your draft. I don't... How stupid could he be? It's only if you're going to be the number one pick, but if you're just like a guy who might be a first-round pick or probably a second-round pick, now you might not see his name comes to like the fourth round. You never know. So dumb. Some of these young guys are so dumb. Fucking nuts. Speaking of defensive tackles on the NFL side, Panthers extend Derek Brown. 4 years, $96 million, $63 million guaranteed, a lot of money. The defensive tackle market has exploded in recent years. So many guys are just getting absolute bags. That we're winding down here. Let's go to the NHL standings. So, similar to the NFL, only about 4 or 5 games left for each team. So, on the Eastern Conference, Rangers lead with 110 points. They're 3 points clear right now in that conference. They're 3 points clear of any team, so they look like they may win the President's Trophy. And they've already put the playoffs, obviously. Second is Boston. They have 107 points. And they've already clinched a spot. Carolina's in third with 105. They've already clinched a spot. In fourth is Florida with 102. They've already clinched a playoff spot. In fifth is Toronto with 99. They've already clinched a playoff spot. Tampa's now in sixth with 93. They've clinched a playoff spot. The Islanders are the 7th spot. They've kind of come out of nowhere. They've played well down the stretch. The 8th spot right now, Detroit and Pittsburgh both have 84, but Detroit's got a game in hand. And the Capitals are only a point out. They've kind of been hanging around all year, but they've, played very well down the stretch. Have kind of got themselves close. But they've, about a week or two ago, they had stormed into the playoff. They're going to make it, but have lost 6 in a row, so now they're starting to fade a bit. Flyers who have fallen off the face of the earth. They've lost 7 in a row, but there are still only a point out. The Devils are still alive. They're hanging by a thread. They right now are 5 points out. And Buffalo is 5 points. They're another team. They've kind of been at it for most of the year. But they're hanging by a thread right now, and everyone else is out. In the Western Conference, Dallas is has 107. They are in first place in the Western Conference. They've already clinched a playoff spot. They've been playing phenomenal hockey. They've always been like in the top 3-4 the whole year, but they've been last couple of weeks they've been the top team in the West. Vancouver's in second with 104. They've already clinched a playoff spot. Colorado's in third with 102. They've already clinched a playoff spot. Winnipeg is in fourth with 100. They've already clinched a playoff spot. Edmonton is in fifth with 99. They've already clinched a playoff spot. In sixth is Nashville with 94. Kings have 93. They're in seventh. Vegas is in eighth with 92. Those should be the 8 teams because Blues are 5 points out, and the Wild are 9 points out. So the Wild are going to be limited probably the next day or two. Blues are hanging by a thread, and everyone else is out. On to baseball. So Yuri Perez is having Tommy John surgery from the Marlins, as is Shane Bieber. The Tommy John surgery has been out of control. That's all said. Over the last 10 years, prior to last year, the previous 10 years, there were 254 Tommy John surgeries. So that's 25.4 per year. There were 31 last year, and there's on pace to be, I think, 52 this year. That's crazy. Something's going on. It's, I think every pitcher now, they're being, the way they're being developed, even like starting in like high school and when they're younger, like they have to throw as hard as possible. No, you're gonna kill your arm. If you're, trying to, throw, if you're throwing as hard as you can, every time, starting when you're in high school, by the time you're in your first couple of years in the major leagues, you're gonna have problems. Look at, Spencer Strider, the stud from the Atlanta Braves, very, very young, only like 25 years old. Now he's got damage with UCL. He's seeking a second opinion. He might have Tommy John, or at least miss a lot of time. Like, you don't have to throw a 98, 100 to be successful. You can throw 92. Look, Greg Mass threw like 87 miles per hour. He's one of the greatest pitchers ever. Like, you don't have to, have this 98, 100 mile per hour, flame ball to be successful. Like Dallas Keuchel had a run where he was maybe the best pitcher in the league. He won Cy Young with Houston. He throws 88, he threw 88, 89 miles per hour. You don't gotta, this is, I'm just throwing out really random examples. Bartolo Colombo is in his 40s with the Mets. Was the guy who threw like 98 in his prime by the time he was in, 40 years old. The Mets in like 2015, 2016, 2017. He was throwing 92 miles an hour. And he was in an all-star. He was still an all-star caliber starting pitcher. You don't have to have this flame boy like Mike Soroka almost won Rookie of the Year. Obviously injuries have derailed his career, but he was almost the Rookie of the Year and the Cy Young. He was in the discussion for both. The guy who goes like 90 miles an hour. You don't have to throw super hard to be successful. You're better off just having 4 or 5 really have a decent fastball, even if it's only 92, 93 miles per hour, if that. But having a really good breaking stuff and having really good stuff, you're better off doing that. You'll have more success and you'll have a longer career. Simple as that. To finish off, the Oakland Athletics are going to be playing in Sacramento from 2025 to 2027. I don't know what they are doing. And then they move into Vegas in 2028. They are such a mess. They are a disaster. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. Rest of the week, probably won't do this show tomorrow because I'm doing the plans to do the firing squad tomorrow. Thursday looks like it's going to be a UConn specific episode to talk about how dominant they've been. Mock draft will be Friday. I'll probably recap the Raw after WrestleMania at some point this week. And then also, if anything big happens, I'll get to you as soon as possible. But until next time, so long. Have a great day.